Finally, the DanVanDam Agrabah has come back to Is It Worth Your Wii Points? Oh yes! I smell it, folks, and that's not the bullshit that you usually hear from typical reviews, people being biased. You'll get the honest truth from our show, folks. But enough of stirring my own coffee. Today, I'm going to bring up a review, of course, that has been overly played, possibly overly done, and possibly overly cooked. But guess what, folks? Leftovers are always great. Today, we're going to cover the Mega Man series. I'm going to do a brief little my opinion on the entire series. So, basically, if it's inaccurate to your standards, it does not matter. Because guess what? You put this in your mouth like a pacifier and chill out. Anyway, coming up next for Is It Worth Your Wii Points, I'm going to be covering and reviewing Mega Man 1 and 2 that was released for the Virtual Console. As for Mega Man 9, go check a link out bottom of here. Click that and you'll be able to access it, because I will be putting this as a video response to that video. So, without further ado, coming up next, the brief history of Mega Man. Roar! Roar! Mamma mia!
Above the mucky muck castle made of clouds.
Hello, Wii players and all those who happen to watch. Alright, this right here, of course, is going to cover 1 through 6 for Mega Man. Now, I'm not going to review all of the games. I'm just going to briefly cover all of them, though, with a couple of clips of footage, so that way you can view the evolution of the game, the different elements added, and this and that, and the bag of chips. Alright, so today's real review is going to be about Mega Man 1 and 2, but I'm just going to talk about Mega Man 1 through 6 today. X, I'm not really going to bring up. That's something for another show. Alright, so Mega Man 1 through 6. First things first, the quality of the game improved through each and every game. Like, time and effort actually got presented in each game. You can actually notice that. It's sort of like the evolution of mankind in a weird videographic moment of pausement. You notice that Mega Man 1, sort of sounded like an arcade, running gun kind of deal. You get to point A to point B to get to the boss. You deal with turrets in the areas. And, of course, you deal with that simplistic but also paddock meaning it's very bunch of patterns involved. Yes, I'm making up words. Bite me. Anyway, you typically see these characters and, you think there's a pattern behind each and every one of these bosses, isn't there? Yes, and there's also a pattern in which way, of course, you present yourself into trying to kill these bosses. Which gave Mega Man an interesting charm. You have to beat one boss in order to conquer the other one if you're not that skilled, and of course, yada yada. But most likely, people who are really hardcore into the game just, use a blaster only or buster gun only. And yeah, that's basically it, really. That's really the entire series in a nutshell. Get to point A, point B, kill the boss, take his power, run around, and use that power to get through various stages, which of course have obstacles that require you to use their special abilities for. Whew, that was a mouthful. Also, Mega Man Powered Up I thought was a great reinvention of the Mega Man 1 game. And of course, any future game to come that gets remade with the Mega Man name on it, I hope they just remake a lot of the games. Great gameplay in each one of those for the NES. So yeah, you're all probably wondering, why on earth aren't you going to include Mega Man 7, 8, 9 on this brief history? Those are from different consoles. Those aren't interested me right now. Exception to Part 9, which is, of course, is always a review for that already made from Is It Worth Your Wii Points by guest host my brother. So, yeah. Each and every single time I look back at the older Mega Man games, I always smiled because I knew those were games right there were created with less corporations behind it and more of a developer's touch to it. I thought the games were very nice, they were very polished, the music was great to jiggle to, and I just thought they were all around great. You know, this isn't me being a fanboy, it's me being truthful about it. The creativity, the director's approach, and everything else behind it was behind this game, and I was very proud to play it, even though I blatantly I am terrible at the game. So that's why I'm providing footage from NESguide.com. I asked permission, don't worry. As long as I keep that little logo in the bottom, I'm cool. So, yeah. Basically, each and every single time I look back at every single one of these games' bosses, they make me kind of chuckle, too, because the way they reinvent the same brushed up fireman, the same brushed up water guy, the same brushed up rock guy. You know, they try to include every single element, but yet try to introduce in a different character. Even though, you know, you basically feel like you're fighting the same monster over and over. Well, the robot in this case. But I really enjoyed these games very much. My childhood growing up. Even though a few of them I couldn't get my hands on, I had to access them later on through emulation, but nonetheless, they're still pretty great. Hello, Wii players and all those who happen to watch. Here I'm going to review Mega Man 1 and 2 right now. First, diving into Mega Man 1, you've got the simplistic graphics, the arcade style for the intro to every boss. You get these points, of course, that relevantly don't matter, don't have any point to the game. But then, of course, you drift off into the game and you realize, hey, this game is pretty freaking good. Yes, the graphics are simplistic for the time, but you know, gameplay's still great, and I gotta say, Cutman's music is pretty amazing. Aside, of course, everyone saying, it's the best music ever from the Mega Man series. You know, you gotta say it just like that because you know how people are. They just milk it for all it's worth. Anyway, going through every stage, you basically notice one thing. Each boss has their own specific weakness, and every single time you kill a boss, you gain their ability. That's the powerful thing about Mega Man. He can steal other bosses' abilities and use them against them. Aren't you screwed, Mr. Gutsman? Ha, ha, ha. So then, of course, you lead off into this game and you realize one thing. Is this game worth my Wii points? Of course, people are saying, well, you could download this game for a ROM. That beats the freaking point, sir, and you fail at life. Go sit in your mother's basement and play and watch Mega Man cartoons on loop. I think that's, of course, very amusing for all those people who do this, by the way. But rather than actually owning the cartridge, people choose to do this crap and ruin the point of gameplays like Mega Man. Yes, I said gameplays like that on purpose. Yes. So, long story short, gameplay is good. Music is good. However, if you're looking for more up-to-date graphics, you're looking for that snaz that everyone sooner or later came out to and said, this game's amazing, go after 2 through 6 if you really want that type of gameplay. The graphics look amazing. But if you want simplistic and very challenging gameplay, stick with Part 1. It's pretty challenging and it's very fun as well. Alright. Mega Man 2. Let's talk about that. Mega Man 2, of course, was Capcom's realization that Mega Man is going to sell a lot of money for them. Of course, like Devil May Cry and yeah. Anyway, Mega Man 2 came out. That game, by far, is one of my favorites next to Part 3 and 4. I'm in agreement with my brother. He approves. So, when you play this game, you notice one thing. The graphics are just gorgeous for 8-bit. Capcom has done themselves proud. Pat yourselves on the back, Capcom. Music is just stunning. The gameplay is just stunning. The bosses are great. I enjoyed this game overall, and I gotta say, it is worth your mofoing Wii points, mofoa. Word up, killer. But in any which case, if you're really a hardcore fan for Mega Man, pick up both these titles today. If you just want, the real gameplay experience, go after Part 2 compared to Part 1. Unless, of course, you want to try Part 1 and see how it all started. But I really suggest picking Part 2, because that's when really the gameplay really picks up, I believe. And Part 1, has its great elements, but I believe that some of it kinda got rushed. I'm not trying to say that to be mean, it's just true. I feel like some of it got rushed because it was one of their first games, or at least a concept out, and they were just gonna go with it non-stop. But go with Part 2, above all else. Part 2 is worth your true Wii points versus one another. Goodbye, folks. I say good day, sir.